From glitzy neon signs to whimsical themed decor, the 1970s saw countless eateries aiming for fast success amid America's changing tastes. Many soared to local stardom, only to crash unexpectedly and disappear from neighborhood skylines. In this exploration, we uncover how shifting food trends, intense competition, and financial missteps sealed their fate. Each vanished spot once brimmed with ambition and innovation, but hidden challenges behind the scenes propelled them toward a rapid decline. Number 1, Sambo's. Initially launched with a catchy name that combined the founders' monikers, Sambo's rose to prominence in the late 1960s and expanded swiftly throughout the 1970s. Featuring a memorable children's menu and bright interior designs, it attracted families seeking affordable comfort food. Nonetheless, a widely criticized branding strategy proved lethal. Heightened cultural sensitivity in the 1970s and 1980s drew scrutiny to the restaurant's name and mascot, sparking public debate that alienated patrons. Rapid real estate acquisitions exacerbated the chain's financial strain, leading to store closures as interest rates climbed and labor costs escalated. The once popular chain struggled to reinvent its image and eventually faded away, leaving only a few locations that later rebranded and disassociated from the controversial theme. Number 2, Geno's Hamburgers. Founded by an NFL star eager to capitalize on post-war America's fascination with fast food, Geno's Hamburgers started as a simple burger joint that appealed to baby boomers on tight budgets. Menus featured burgers, shakes, and signature fried chicken that helped the company flourish across the East Coast. Yet the relentless rivalry with global giants like McDonald's and Burger King eroded Geno's market share. Leadership attempted expansions into new states, but rising inflation in the 1970s stifled growth. Franchises confronted wavering consumer loyalty when promotions couldn't compete with bigger players offering cheaper items. By the early 1980s, Geno's was acquired, and remaining locations either shuttered or merged into other brands, leaving behind only nostalgic memories for older generations. Number 3, Minnie Pearl's Fried Chicken. Spearheaded by a famous country entertainer's brand recognition, Minnie Pearl's Fried Chicken hoped to mirror the success of other Southern-inspired poultry chains. As the 1970s progressed, it claimed hundreds of franchised units, capitalizing on the decade's fascination with quick-serve dining. The brand banked on an iconic image of Minnie Pearl from the Grand Ole Opry. But behind the scenes, investors discovered mismanagement in supply chains. Quality control issues proliferated when product consistency varied among locations. Increased competition from fried chicken titans only spotlighted Minnie Pearl's flaws. Financial irregularities and inability to sustain consistent demand eventually led to widespread closures, with the brand fading from the roadside landscape by decade's end. Number 4, Lum's. Known for its beer-steamed hot dogs and casual menu items, Lum's boasted a fun, tavern-like atmosphere, drawing baby boomers ready for a hearty meal. Originating in Florida, the chain flourished nationwide during the late 1960s and early 1970s. Celebrity endorsements and prime advertising on local radio contributed to its rapid expansion. However, as overhead increased, the novelty of beer-steamed frankfurters waned. Consumer tastes gradually shifted toward more diverse fast casual cuisine, forcing Lum's to scramble for new menu ideas. Mergers and acquisitions disrupted branding, confusing loyal customers. Economic headwinds and competition from emerging burger chains sealed its fate, causing Lum's to dismantle operations and vanish from most cities by the early 1980s. Number 5, Henry's Hamburgers. Henry's launched with ambitious plans to rival McDonald's, adopting a strikingly similar menu of burgers, fries, and shakes. Mid-century baby boomers craving fast, cheap food showed initial enthusiasm for the chain's simplified approach. Nevertheless, the consistency and marketing might of established giants dwarfed Henry's marketing budget. As inflation soared, Henry struggled to keep pace with evolving consumer desires for novelty items and promotional offers. Attempts to add new specialties, like pizza burgers or fish sandwiches, did little to bolster the brand. Real estate costs, particularly in busy urban areas, soared, and many Henry's outlets could not survive once lease rates climbed. By the mid-1970s, closures mounted, and the chain's once optimistic expansion sputtered into a few scattered stores, then total extinction. Number 6, Red Barn. This family-friendly chain endeared itself to communities with its distinctive barn-shaped buildings and an extensive menu beyond standard burgers. Offering fried chicken, fish, and an eclectic salad bar, Red Barn stood apart for its unusual architecture that evoked rural Americana. Yet the owners faced increasing challenges as the recession of the 1970s dented disposable incomes. Consumers gravitated to other fast food outlets promising more uniform flavors and recognizable mascots. Lacking the corporate muscle of larger brands, Red Barn could not compete on advertising campaigns or secure prime real estate spots in rapidly developing suburban malls. Changes in management introduced brand inconsistencies, leading to confusion and lower foot traffic. By the late 1970s, Red Barn's once charming structures became relics of a passing era. Number 7, Howard Johnson's restaurant division. Although not exclusively launched in the 1970s, Howard Johnson's faced sharp decline during that decade. Once a beloved pit stop for family road trips throughout the 1950s and 1960s, it offered comforting meals, ice cream, and easy motel access. The chain's uniform design and orange roofs defined mid-century Americana, but by the 1970s, a mixture of increased competition from emerging fast food giants and changing family travel habits impacted revenue. High gas prices following oil embargoes meant fewer extended road trips, shrinking the regular customer base. Shifts in management decisions to cut costs led to reduced food quality and a loss of brand loyalty. The once iconic roadside diners gradually closed, leaving only a handful limping into the 1980s. Number 8, Bob's Big Boy franchise expansion failures. While Bob's Big Boy remains a recognizable name in certain regions, many of its 1970s expansions collapsed under financial strain. Franchise owners took on large debts to open new locations at a time when inflation soared and unemployment rates began to climb. The signature double-decker burger and the iconic Big Boy statue remained popular marketing hooks, but overshadowing competition from other burger joints chipped away at local store profitability. Some franchise operators attempted to broaden the menu to draw in dinner crowds, but inconsistent quality control and localized supplier issues tarnished the chain's reputation. Corporate restructuring in subsequent decades streamlined the brand, leaving behind a trail of shuttered 1970s expansions that never recovered. Number 9, Puppin' Taco. Originally embracing a menu that merged hot dogs and Mexican-inspired items, Puppin' Taco's concept appeared to address the decade's appetite for quick, affordable snacks. The chain peppered states like California, where drive-in culture still thrived. However, as consumer demand for more authentic or specialized cuisine took hold, Puppin' Taco struggled to expand menu variety or compete with larger taco-oriented fast food outfits. Franchise owners attempted to introduce new promotional items, but supply costs rose steeply, and consistent branding became an issue. By the late 1970s, overhead outpaced revenue. A major competitor eventually acquired many Puppin' Taco outlets, rebranding them and erasing the chain from the American roadside lexicon. Number 10, Burger Chef. Established in the late 1950s, Burger Chef reached its zenith in the early 1970s as a bona fide rival to McDonald's. Employing imaginative marketing, such as the Fun Burger and the Works Bar, Burger Chef appealed to kids and frugal parents alike. Despite opening hundreds of locations across the United States, the brand faced corporate leadership hurdles and insufficient resources to keep pace with McDonald's aggressive ad campaigns. Unexpected cost pressures limited menu innovation, and corners got cut in store upkeep. Meanwhile, controlling rising labor expenses proved difficult. As consumer brand awareness shifted to heavily promoted chains, Burger Chef fell behind. By the late 1970s, it was sold, and within a few more years, remaining sites either changed names or ceased operations entirely. Number 11. Wags by Walgreens. In the 1970s, Walgreens tested a diner-style concept called Wags, hoping to capture the blossoming family restaurant market. Wags served classic breakfasts, sandwiches, and comfort dishes akin to other mainstream coffee shop chains. However, persistent difficulty integrating the restaurant business with Walgreens' core pharmacy operations led to scattered management resources. The concept never firmly established a unique identity. Surges in real estate costs also forced closures in less profitable areas. Limited advertising budgets and stiff competition from chains like Denny's or IHOP further diminished Wags' appeal. By the early 1980s, Walgreens dropped most Wags locations, writing the endeavor off as a cautionary tale of brand overreach. Number 12. Cassano's Pizza King satellite stores. While Cassano's remains a staple pizzeria in certain Midwestern cities, their attempt at rapid franchising in the 1970s caused multiple smaller outlets to fold. Known for thin-crust pizzas loaded with generous toppings, the chain tried to capitalize on baby boomers' cravings for quick Italian-American fare. Yet, supply chain hiccups made consistent dough recipes difficult to maintain across distant markets. Price inflation on cheese and meats eroded profit margins, and local competition heated up as national pizza giants introduced flashy deals. Many Cassano's satellite stores found themselves squeezed out, with the brand retreating to its original stronghold. The short-lived expansions left behind vacant storefronts that recalled a period of overly ambitious planning. Number 13. Royal Castle. Famous for small square burgers akin to White Castle's concept, Royal Castle emerged in the mid-20th century and peaked in parts of the southern U.S. during the 1960s and early 1970s. Their selling points included fresh squeezed orange juice and 15-cent sliders, which initially appealed to thrifty customers. However, lack of capital investment in modernizing store designs meant Royal Castle didn't keep up with bright, flashy remodels that drew younger clientele. Inflation and new wage regulations contributed to profit declines. Rival slider chains dominated with bigger advertising budgets, while aging building infrastructures deterred potential franchisees. By the late 1970s, many Royal Castle locations closed, leaving behind only a handful of outposts or independent diners using the name. Number 14. Hot Shops. Originating earlier in the 20th century, hot shops soared during the 1960s and early 1970s by offering quick-service counters and affordable coffee shop menus. Marriott Corporation owned the brand and included it in various roadside stops. By the 1970s, mounting competition from specialized fast food juggernauts bit into hot shops' target demographic. Families turned to novel dining options like pizza parlors or themed burger joints. Marriott's focus on its hotel division also meant less attention was paid to updating the aging chain. Once recognized for home-style favorites, Hot Shops lost its distinctive edge, and parent company restructuring led to a gradual phase-out. The name dissipated from highways, overshadowed by other Marriott ventures. Number 15. Duff's Smorgasbord. This buffet-style concept attracted baby boomers looking for budget-friendly, all-you-can-eat meals. The 1970s consumer liked variety, and Duff's offered everything from carved meats to mashed potatoes, vegetables, and even salads under one roof. However, maintaining large buffets demanded high operating costs, especially when ingredient prices rose. Food waste concerns mounted, and health inspections grew stricter about communal buffet setups. Customer perceptions shifted toward fresher, individually prepared items as the decade advanced. Duff's tried introducing smaller-scale models, but the brand identity hinged on expansive buffet lines that were becoming less profitable. By the end of the 1970s, multiple Duff's locations faced closure, unable to pivot fast enough in an industry craving new dining experiences. Number 16. York Steakhouse. Nestled primarily in shopping malls, York Steakhouse catered to hungry shoppers seeking a quick steak dinner at budget prices. Initially, it enjoyed success as malls boomed and families spent significant leisure time browsing stores. But as inflation ballooned beef costs, margins tightened, and York struggled to keep menu prices low without sacrificing quality. Meanwhile, specialized steakhouses with more upscale ambience lured date-night diners, and fast food burger chains snagged value-driven customers. York's cafeteria-style service, though unique, stopped resonating with baby boomers who craved more modern dining environments. The brand gradually folded many sites as mall traffic patterns changed and overhead became unmanageable. Number 17. Victoria Station. Based on a Victorian-era train station theme, this chain emphasized prime rib dinners and a cozy atmosphere reminiscent of old rail cars. The novelty appealed to 1970s diners searching for memorable experiences. Expansion across multiple states, however, drained resources. Building restaurants with actual train cars as part of the decor was costly and required meticulous maintenance. When the economy turned, consumers started cutting back on pricier meals, and Victoria Station's revenue dipped. Unable to sustain inflated construction costs, the brand closed several locations. Others attempted to rebrand, but the elaborate train motif eventually fell out of fashion. By the early 1980s, Victoria Station had significantly contracted, with only a scattering of locations holding on. Number 18. Ponderosa Steakhouse's struggling outlets. Although Ponderosa still exists in some capacity, many of its 1970s ventures ended in disappointment. Eager to chase the buffet-style steak market, Ponderosa combined budget meals and self-serve salad bars. In smaller towns, management misjudged local demands or overestimated disposable income. The 1970s recession boosted grocery store meal consumption, especially for lower-income families, draining Ponderosa's customer pool. Some franchisees complained about inconsistent supply of quality cuts. As competition from other chain steakhouses and buffets heated up, certain Ponderosa branches couldn't sustain foot traffic. The parent company's financial restructuring meant hundreds of outlets closed, leaving behind vacant lots and memory-laden signs of a brand caught in the economic crossfire. Number 19. Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips. Though originally introduced in the late 1960s, Arthur Treacher's boomed in the 1970s thanks to the public's curiosity about fast food seafood. Capitalizing on battered fish fillets and hush puppies, it projected an English flair. Unfortunately, fish prices soared due to environmental factors and unstable supply chains. The chain struggled to keep consistent product quality, and emerging seafood competitors undercut them with modern marketing. Overexpansion compounded financial woes, and franchisees voiced frustration regarding royalty fees that undercut profits. A wave of location shutdowns followed in the late 1970s, with the brand eventually dropping off many markets. Although a few scattered venues survive, the widespread empire of Arthur Treacher's in the 1970s became a fading footnote in fast food history. Number 20. Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor Miscalculations. Known for exuberant celebrations, vintage decor, and large sundaes, Farrell's delighted families throughout the 1960s and expanded aggressively in the 1970s. The parlors featured costume staff and sensational menu items like the Zoo sundae. However, constructing these carnival-like interiors was expensive, and maintenance of novelty attractions demanded constant reinvestment. Meanwhile, shifting consumer tastes favored streamlined dessert options and health-conscious menus. Economic inflation made ice cream and dairy costs soar. Additionally, competition from simpler ice cream stands and emerging frozen yogurt trends chiseled away at Farrell's loyal base. Attempts to scale back the showy atmosphere alienated longtime fans who adored the signature fanfare. By the early 1980s, multiple locations had ceased operations, unable to maintain the lavish concept in a tightening market.